Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 107 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Today, guys, I am excited. I have an amazing guest joining us, Cyndi Hanna. Cyndi started listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast, just like many of you are right now, in late May of 2021, and eventually decided to join Roots soon after in late July of 2021. And since then, check this out. Between consumer debt and her mortgage, has paid off $13,543.90, and on top of that, added $1,000 to her emergency fund savings in just 6 months. Wow. Now today, she is here to share her journey and just how she's been able to personally make such great progress in just a 6-month period. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And of course, welcome to today's show. So glad that you are joining us. Now, to get all the resources, show notes, and links and things that we are going to be chatting about here today, head over to balancesense.com/107. That's BALANCEDCENTS.com/107. And anything that we share on today's show, links, resources, all of that's going to be shared on that webpage. As I mentioned, guys, I would love to welcome Cyndi to the podcast. Cyndi is a mom to 2 grown sons and an amazing daughter-in-law, and Nana to 2 incredible grandsons, Jesse, who is 5, and Waylon, who is 19 months. She is a retired dental hygienist, and after 31 years of making great income, listen to this, guys, she found herself sick, not prepared, and no longer able to work. It has taken her a few years just to adjust to her new life, physically, emotionally, and financially, in which we're going to talk about the financial side of that today and a lot today on today's podcast. She says currently she manages her house. Her husband tells her she is the best house manager. She plays with her grandkids, loves her 3 dogs. She enjoys crafting, reading for pleasure, and of course for education as well. And she practices yoga and meditation regularly as well. Cyndi and her husband have lived in Washington State for the past 10 years after living in Phoenix for about 18. She says, my husband is a U.S. Army vet, Special Forces, who currently is working, even though he is also experiencing some medical issues himself over the last 11 months. She mentions he is a great provider. He also likes to fish and just do projects around the house. And lastly, she adds, and I love this, Cyndi, we live a pretty simple life, really. And you want to know what? Simple is okay. I love simple, stress-free living. So that is my jam. Cyndi, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you took some time to join us and to share just your amazing progress over the last 6 months.
Hi, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk, before we even get to the progress, before we get to, you found the podcast, Can you take us back before then? Like, what has been your relationship with money been like throughout your life? Maybe even as you grew up learning about money, as you started using money as an adult, like what were some of the things that you felt you struggled with the most and that you really kind of finally decided, maybe I need to get some help for some of this stuff?
So that's a really interesting question because I don't think we even pay attention to how much what we learn as kids makes a difference as an adult. My situation a little bit different. I grew up with one parent that had a lot of money. They got divorced when I was young, and the other one worked 3 to 11 night shift just to make ends meet. So, it's a little bit different for us because my dad always kept a budget, and I think to this day at 80 something years old, he still keeps a written budget every month and lives by that budget. And he had money, but I lived with my mom and she was a nurse, and I experienced food not being there or utilities being cut off. So it was a little bit different. And you had those extremes. Now, my dad did try to teach me. I remember when I went to college, he gave me a book called Bonnie's Budget Book.
Okay.
And I don't even know if it's still out in publication.
Yeah.
I'm old. I went to college a long time ago, but he did try to teach me, but it wasn't at a point where I was going to learn it.
Yeah.
I was, 17 years old. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but I had, he kept a budget on a spreadsheet. My mom kept bills clipped to a calendar. So I had very split perceptions of money When I went and opened my first checking account, when I went off to college, the lady at the bank said, let me show you how to balance your checkbook. So when you have to be taught that way, it kind of puts you in a position of, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. And money becomes a secret because you don't want to tell anybody about your money.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about money. Well, I went to college in the 80s. Credit cards are a brand new thing for college students then. They were just starting to come out. And if you already had an account, you were set. So, we kind of lived like that. We made great money, got a good job, finished college. My husband was in the service. We made good money. So we had great money and bad habits.
Yeah.
We went through a period young. We blew up the credit cards, got into a lot of debt, had young kids. And we weren't bailed out. My dad did try again to teach us, but he also paid off those balances because my husband was active duty and it was a problem. So fast forward, money was a big issue in marriage. Money's been an issue in raising kids, so we got into debt, got out of debt, got back into debt, got out of debt. And a few years ago, we knew that things were going to change soon because we're in our 50s and 60s. And, all of a sudden we're looking at, we don't have retirement. Dental hygienists don't get money put aside for retirement. Army people get out of the Army and we don't learn those lessons. So, we went through a program and tried to learn, got out of some of our debt because at one point we actually had over $50,000 in debt, in consumer debt, not counting our house. And so we've been paying off that, but then life happened, and I got sick and everything changed. So,
yeah,
I have been relearning about money my whole life. And it's interesting because, we don't give ourselves credit when we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people make that mistake in their younger years, especially throughout their 20s. I know I did, even in my early 30s. And if it wasn't for my son and haphazardly coming across some of this information on how to become debt free, I probably would have continued. But I think as you're younger, you kind of convince yourself like, oh, you got time to worry about those finances later.
You think you have time, and people have told you credit scores are what's important. So you have to get a credit card to build up your credit. Yeah. Well, no, you have to get a credit card to get in debt. And I learned that the hard way because it never built up my credit score, because then you get too many and eventually your credit score is going to go down because you're in debt. And it doesn't really work the way that I thought it did. So
yeah. There's a lot. You speak to it. You speak to the misinformation that's out there in the marketplace. I mean, and the lack of education altogether. Whether that be education and wisdom that's being passed down in the family itself. Even though, like you said, your dad tried to show you. And in a lot of cases, even sometimes the family is sharing it. Sometimes, again, when you're younger, that maturity level, we don't necessarily want to take that advice, right? But in some cases, it is just a lack of education, right? And not only just in the family, but just as a society as a whole. We're educated enough to go into debt because that's what the financial industry wants us to do, because that's what makes them money.
Right.
And that's what sadly most people end up doing, and without even feeling that there's anything wrong with it, because that's just how society works nowadays. So talk to me a little bit about 6-7 months ago. So you mentioned you went through another program, and it was like a Dave Ramsey program, right?
Right.
So,
same principles, but we went through the program, we got the lesson, and I knew those things. Look, after I stayed in dentistry for 31 years, but I also ran dental offices, and I could run the heck out of a dental office. Never a problem, but at home, it's a personal issue. It's not a business issue. So it's different. And there's fear around it. There's personal emotion. There's, all the stuff that goes with money that we don't like to talk about. So it becomes a secret. So we went through a program. We tried to do that. But honestly, after we went through the lesson part of it, we fell off because in my household, I do the numbers. It's a little bit different. I know it's great if you have both parties on board. And look, Andy's not against this. He's not going to sit down and watch videos. He's not going to look at the numbers. But if I can say, look, here's a good goal. Let's make a goal. And our goal is to buy him a new vehicle. Then I can get him on board, because it's hard when you do it by yourself. And that's what happened last time. Is I was doing it by myself, and it doesn't work well when you don't have anyone to talk to, and your friends aren't exactly who you can talk to about money. Nobody wants to sit down and talk about debt and how to get out of it and what you're going to do to improve your life.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. And I think you're speaking to the point of, and what I think most people are missing with their finances, it isn't, for most people, it isn't a lack of know-how. I mean, most people understand that they should probably save more or pay off more debt or probably get better at budgeting or improve behaviors. And like a lot of us know generally what we should be doing. The challenge is committing to it and committing to it long enough and consistently enough to get the results that you want to see. And I think what you're speaking to is, you fell off the wagon because of a lack of accountability and support, and having, again, and you're right, if you don't have a spouse or partner that is completely either on board or is willing to really kind of have those conversations, it's hard doing it by yourself. So finding a group of like-minded people, like we have inside Roots Personal Finance, finding support and accountability, I think is what I have found, and it's why I created the program, because I felt the same way about programs like what Dave offers and what other financial programs are out there. Everyone knows how to watch a video, but it's putting it into action afterwards. It's having the support group. It's having the coaching. It's having a person in your corner throughout the process that you can lean on to go through this. And I think, like you and like me, I experienced the same thing with a lot of those programs, is that I didn't have the support and accountability, so I would do great while I was in the class, and then as soon as class was over, I'd go right back to it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard because I do want to be accountable, and Andy's all about looking at the numbers and great job and you're doing great. But it's nice to be able to jump into a group and say, okay, I'm having this struggle, or I'm having this challenge, or I'm having this, I don't know, this one's a good one for me. Celebrate with me. I don't know. It has helped.
Yeah.
It has helped because what I have learned is it's not about money. It's not about the financial lessons. It's about internal behavior more than anything else. It's about behavior around money. And if it's overspending or whatever. And, when we decided to what happened last spring is a few years back when I fell off and just quit doing everything, I got sick. Our income changed. I could no longer work. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle to go from a very good income to $0. It's an ego blow. And so then what do? You spend money to fill that. And so then all of a sudden you're back up in debt again. And that wasn't okay with me. And I knew it was coming. And in January, my husband went into AFib. And when you have a medical emergency like that could be permanently life-changing, it kind of wakes you up.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to do something. And, I just am really grateful for finding First Debt Free Dad, and then just like listening to a couple podcasts and thinking, this is it. This is the same principles I believe in, the same principles I know work, but a different way to apply them for me, a different way that'll work for me.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you too, is, because you came across, you mentioned you saw actually our planner ad on Facebook. So our debt freedom planner. And that's how you probably, came across the podcast. And that's how a lot of people end up finding us but as you're going throughout those podcast episodes and even before you joined the workshop, last summer, what were the things that I guess we were talking about, or I guess what resonated with you the most that got you motivated, that got you feeling like, okay, I need to get back on this? Was it the situations that you guys were going with? Is that what's kind of motivated you to say, okay, this is the time, we gotta do this now?
It was just at a point in my life where I knew that the debt was creeping back up and there had to be a way to get control. When you have medical issues, you already feel out of control. And so if you add financial issues on top of it, it is so stressful that I wanted to feel that I was on top of this and paying attention, because the prospect of having your whole world upside down like that is scary. Yeah. So I did, I looked at it. We don't have time slip by so fast. I think we were 20 and 30 just about a few months ago. I don't know how we got to be 50 and 60.
Yeah.
And don't have things organized like we should. And that's the reality of it, is we don't. And we have the income, but we had the bad behavior. And I fought budgets my whole life. A written budget to me was a punishment because of the way I was taught it. It was a punishment, and you deprived yourself of everything. And the mindset has really changed just by this time. I have consistently done a budget on paper for 6 months, and 7 months now, and it has been life-changing, because I finally got it in my head. I finally got it. When I do a budget, I control my money. My money doesn't control me.
Yeah.
And we had to do something because we're on our own, so we have to pay attention and get it. So yeah, those those life-changing things will make you wake up and pay attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. And now you mentioned the budget, because you're leading great right into my next question, is that, so ultimately, you went through our summer workshop, Lay Without Payments. You made the decision to say, okay, yeah, I want to join Roots Personal Finance. And so like, what was besides the budget inside Roots, like what were some of the things that you felt? Because I mean, saving and paying off over $14,000 in 6 months. And again, you lost your income. I mean, you guys had a lot of stuff going on, medical issues. I mean, to be able to make that kind of progress in 6 months, I mean, that's outstanding. I mean, it is impressive. And I think it shows just how much this process can really work with anyone, no matter what your situation is. And you're a testament to that. So can you share, because I'm sure the audience is saying, okay, if this individual was having these types of challenges, lost income, was sick, I mean, and are still making this kind of progress, can you share with the audience, you mentioned budgeting, but what were some of the other things that you really started to implement over this last 6 months that you felt really helped make that needle move for you guys?
So one of the, I've always known tracking things were important. Daily tracking of watching where I'm spending money. And it's okay where I spend it. And that's what I had to come to terms with. For me, it's okay where I spend it because I choose to spend it in those areas. But tracking has been really important. Crazy enough, I say I tried everything. Any suggestion that was put out there, any action item that was suggested through the modules, I went with it and I just tried them all. Some of the things I thought were dumb have turned out to be my favorite thing. I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, you got to tell me which things did you think were dumb?
Okay, the snowball stickers.
Yes.
Okay, I thought, really, whatever. But you know what? Here's the thing: what I had done so far had not worked.
Yeah,
I still had debt. Yes, we had paid off a lot of debt, but we still had, a little bit less than half of our debt, and there had to be a way to do it faster and more consistent. So I'm gonna try it. So now it's right over here on my desk. I love when I pay a bill, I get that stupid little sticker out and put on there, and I love it because you know what? I can look at that and think, yeah, almost $14,000 is a lot to pay off, but you know what? It's a lot to owe. With $14,000, what else could I have done for my family?
Yeah.
And that is my reminder to me that goal and that mountain is covered and it's done. And I've really done something for my family. And, to me, that's important because I don't want to leave debt for anybody. I don't want to leave that for anybody. And we're almost done. You know what? We're almost done. We're so close to being actually debt-free other than our house. Cause let's face it, that's going to be a while, but it's kind of amazing journey.
Yeah. That is really incredible. Yeah.
And I heard something on one of the podcasts I heard was I consider myself smart. Look, I went to college, I have an education, I run offices. I understand compound interest, which a lot of people don't, and that's okay. You don't need to understand it. But one off the cuff comment on one of the podcasts was, well, compound interest works for credit card companies too.
Yes, absolutely.
Never did it dawn on me like, yes, we pay interest on credit cards. We all know that, but I never realized they're making as much money as we all could be making.
You got it.
No wonder you don't get your credit card balances paid down.
Absolutely.
And I intellectually got it, but for some reason, emotionally, it's a connection. And once you get that connection, if you just do these things, and it's taken until probably the last 2 or 3 months, and all of a sudden it's emotional. So I just kept doing the task, doing the action items and getting there, and I know everybody thinks it's crazy, but the little blue card. Yeah. So this stays with me. And I think it's just so funny because it just
Can you hold that up real quick? Can you hold it up real quick? Because everyone's like, what's the little blue card? So as you guys can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, now if you're listening to the podcast, you'll be able to see this, but it's a little blue card that we send our members, and it's got a little cartoon Debt-Free Dad on it. And at the top, it just says, what would Brad do? And again, I did not invent this saying. I think we've talked about this on this podcast, but our members created this saying as a way to hold themselves accountable. So we send this card now to all of our new members.
It is funny because when I pulled it out, I was like, whatever, but then it's the things on there. It's the little bullet points on there, the 24 hours. for purchases. I have saved so much money waiting 24 hours in the last 6 months. It's ridiculous.
I love that.
Don't get me wrong. I've still spent money, but you know what? That and just, you know, we just decided that this is what we had to do. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's the crazy little things that work. But like I said, I tried them all. Tracking is important. I have found for me, even on the weeks that I don't feel like I have mastered the money thing, going to the live meetups has been great because somebody, even if I'm thinking something, invariably somebody will ask that question during that meetup. So that always is really good for me because sometimes I don't even have to say anything and I get a lot out of them. So
yeah, I
and
love
that's
that.
my motivation. That's my connection. That's where I feel like at least there's, you know, a couple hundred other people that are feeling the same way. So
yeah. So you're mentioning, so you've mentioned the budget. You mentioned obviously tracking's played a big part. Waiting 24 hours, which is a one of those behavior modification rules that we share inside Roots. And the simple, you know, if you're listening to this, I'll just tell you what it is. You know, if you're confronted with a purchase that you're tempted to buy, just give yourself 24 hours. So many people hate telling themselves no. Instead, just tell yourself to wait 24 hours. All right, that's it. And you'll find that 99% of the time, if you wait 24 hours, you won't even want the thing that you were so tempted to buy just a day earlier. So practice it. It works. It's working for Cyndi. It's working for so many of our members. Talk to me a little bit about your budget, though, because I liked what you said. The way you were taught about budgeting, and this is how a lot of people are taught about budgeting, unfortunately, is that a budget is kind of like a punishment. You have to get rid of everything. You can't have anything fun. And in fact, I believe it's actually the quite opposite. It's really getting yourself to the point financially where you can give yourself permission to have any fun you want. So a lot of people have this thought or feeling that, well, man, if I want to get out of debt, I'm not going to be able to have any fun. I'm not going to be able to do anything. Can you, you mentioned that you don't feel that way over the last 6 months. Talk a little bit about that to some of our listeners and why you don't necessarily feel that way. And being that you've done a budget now consistently over the last 6 or 7 months, like what's the difference it's made, you think, based on how we've taught it and how you've been taught in the past?
Well, in the past, I just felt like this means I'm restricting my money. You know, this is a restriction. And especially when you're young and you're coming off of always being grounded or whatever, you don't ever want restrictions.
Right.
And that's kind of how it started. Now, just because I've been doing it consistently, like I tried one in May, kind of halfway, and then I really sat down with June and did one. And now when I sit down and do it, it's more of, okay, I have X amount of dollars and I can divide it up where I need it to be. And there has been some goals that I really wanted to reach over the last few months, paying off certain debts. And it's just a map. It's just a map for my money. And I've quit. I think the biggest thing for me, because I've done it for so long now, it's just a business move. It's no longer an emotional, oh my gosh, I'm so fearful of this, or I'm going to not have money for that, or how can I, rob Peter to pay Paul? When really, if you lay it out on paper, you realize that takes so much stress out of trying to figure out what you're going to do because you have it laid out on paper of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So I just kind of not detached from it because it's become very fun to do, which I don't ever want anyone to know I said that probably should not be out there, but it's actually become a fun thing to do because when you have fear, if you understand what you have in front of you, it takes the fear away. And lessening my stress was probably one of the main reasons I decided that I wanted to join Roots after, following Life Without Payments for a month or two. I thought, this is what I really want to do because the stress will kill you.
Yeah.
The stress will kill us.
Yeah. It is. It's one of the, it's one of the number one things that Americans stress about. I mean, they just did a survey back in July, right when you joined Roots, and it came out 73% of people say money and financial stress is the number one thing that they stress about the most. So You're definitely not alone. And I think, when it comes to your budget, I think the budget provides hope. Like you said it yourself. You said, what could I have done with that $14,000? And I think that's the thing. Like, you're seeing this debt decrease. You're seeing that you have control. You're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You just said, you guys aren't that far away from being debt free. You've done that by practicing a lot of things that we're talking about, budget being a big part of that. And I think when you start getting the wins and you start seeing the wins, a budget doesn't no longer feel like a punishment. It is the thing that is reducing the stress. It is the thing that is eventually going to get you to the light at the end of the tunnel, where you can then say, what can we now do with all of this extra money that we have every month? And how can we start having some fun? right? And it's just a complete mindset change. Yeah, when you're broke, budgeting stinks because you realize you don't have that much money to budget with, right? And you might be actually spending more than you're making. But as you work this process, and just in a short 6 months, an individual like you, it's amazing how much that mindset can just flip by just doing it consistently month after month. And this magical transition begins to happen. And you're feeling that now, and I love that.
Well, it is, because when you do your budget, you realize, one, you're not as broke as you think you are, because you're spending where you shouldn't be spending.
Right.
And so you kind of find out, oh, hey, you feel richer. I feel richer. I feel like I have more money when I do a budget. And it's crazy, because if I had known that, I would have done it. I would have started it when I was 25 years old. I would have done it all along.
Yeah.
But better late than never.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned spending. Was there anything that was eye-opening to you that really stuck out to you as like a really bad habit that you fixed since then? Like what do you feel you overspent the most on before you started?
You know what? Without a doubt, going out to eat.
Yeah, it is number one for most people.
Going out to eat.
Yeah.
The first in the grocery store. So the first month I sat down in May and, pulled a bank statement and actually added up, like sat down with the highlighter, added up all the, Applebee's, all the restaurants, all the grocery stores, all that shopping. I was disgusted. Because you don't think about it when it's $25. You don't think about it when it's $40, and that has been a big change. Yeah.
Yep. And again, the gold nugget that Cyndi dropped on you guys is tracking. The way to recognize that, spending, that it's happening is, like she said, track it. Start tracking it. And this is what I say to so many people who say, oh, I can't afford to either, join Roots, or I can't afford to do this, or I can't afford to get out of debt. Like, I don't have the money. It's like, I guarantee you, for the majority of people that use that excuse, you have the money. You're just using it and wasting it on other stuff that isn't getting you the results that you want. Once you start tracking, you'll start to realize how much money you actually have. And we see it time and time and time again. So I'm glad you brought up both of those good points. So other thing I want to ask too, and I went back because I remember you sending me an email even before you joined Roots, and you were a little bit hesitant, maybe even skeptical, before you joined. And one of the things that you were a little hesitant on is just based on where you're at in your life, your age, you've got grown kids, where are you going to fit in? So can you talk about how the community, not me necessarily, but just the Roots community, has helped throughout this process over the last 6 months? And someone like you in the situation that you're in, at the age that you're in, and the life experiences that you've had, do you feel like you fit in? And how has that all played a role in this?
So yes, absolutely, without a doubt, I fit in. And I did. When I first found you and I went through the workshop, I was a little bit, all these are lofty goals to have a retirement. Well, I'm looking at retirement is not that far away. I don't have time for compounded interest to work for me like a 20 or a 30 or a 40-year-old does. And we didn't have that much debt, and we have decent income. Looking back, I don't think I was as skeptical as I was fearful.
Okay.
I just was, can I do this? Because I had failed at it before.
Yeah.
What I have found is, one, I'm not the only person that's married that is doing this with just side support from their spouse. I'm not the only person that's in their 50s doing this, not even by far. And what I forgot is, I was taught at the same time everybody else was, the same misinformation. And now we know better. So now we get to do better. So surprisingly, I think I'm actually kind of middle of the road for the group. I mean, I might be older, but my education about money, my thoughts about money, my experience with money is the same as everybody in the group.
Yeah.
So chronologically, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad, because I mean, you really have turned into a big contributor in the Roots community. And I think, being able to open up and share those experiences, share those wins. In fact, just recently, you were sharing a situation that you were going through, and just to get, and I didn't even comment on it. I mean, but there were over a dozen comments on that post of just people giving them their advice based on the same goals that you have of reducing financial stress. And to have a group of like-minded people come together like that, you can't put a price tag on it. You really can't. And it's like you said, it's hard to talk about money with your family, with your friends. And I get that because I don't talk about money really with my family and my friends. But when you get yourself in a group of like-minded people who have similar goals of getting out of debt, it can be a lot of fun. It can be very motivating to see those other individuals winning and getting those great results. And it can only push you further. And
Right.
I think, seeing you over the last 6 months be a part of this community, it's just been amazing to see how you've progressed through. And that's the favorite part about my job, is being able to watch people from day one and watch them as they go throughout their journey. And you've just turned into this amazing contributor. Now sharing your story here on this podcast, now you're going to start inspiring other people. And I love being able to see people walk through that progression. And now you're going to be able to take this story inside the Roots community with people all over the place and be able to share that, hey, this is totally possible.
Well, it is. And, and it doesn't take that long. 6 months sounds like a long time, but really what I say is it takes about 15 minutes a day. I thought the little 5 tasks a day, again, I thought that was one of those things that you think are ridiculous, but that helps you stay with the tracking. That helps you checking your account balances. Some of the things we start in Roots have saved me so much money. At the beginning, we talked about going through our bank statements and all of that and just trying to get a handle on things. Well, because of that, I start reviewing all statements, and I have saved about $3,000 just reviewing statements where I was billed incorrectly, or they didn't file an insurance claim and I got a reduced bill making it look like it had been paid. And, these are things that when you have a grip on all of that, it just gives you so much peace of mind.
Yeah.
And so you can go on and share that stuff. But here's the thing, you can drive by something and see something funny and post it in the Roots group, and you'll get just as many people laughing and, it's just a group of people. I mean, you can get on there and share a challenge or share something funny or whatever. People love it. And It's just a good group of people. And it's been the missing link for me. It has been the missing link for me because now I have a plan every month, and my plan is to reduce my stress. And by doing that, by doing a budget and by staying on top of it, and beside that, they're just a cool group of people.
Yeah.
A lot of funny people in that group.
Yeah. And then to have the support and accountability behind that plan, I think is the key. And I think that's the thing that most people are missing. And again, we're obviously talking about Roots. That's what we do here, Debt Free Dad, this is the program that we offer. And, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's got to be the thing for you, but you as the listener, if you're listening to this, like what's going to be the difference maker for you? Support and accountability is going to go a long way. And that is ultimately the main goal of Roots, is to provide that secret sauce to most people's financial plans, is the support and accountability to actually see it through. So Cyndi, real quick too, I got 2 more questions for you. First one is, before we even started the podcast recording, you had mentioned that, when you joined Roots, this is obviously about your finances, but it's been so much more than just finances. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Why Roots has been more than just, say, finances, and how this has really kind of affected other areas of your life?
People don't want to talk about money. They don't want to talk about mental health. They don't want to talk about all these things are supposed to be dark secrets. And, we don't realize that it is all connected together.
Yeah.
And I just think that for me, the less stress has been able for me to use my energy elsewhere, taking care of my husband, my finances aren't taking up this amount of stress I have available. So I can use it in other places, because life is stressful and we're going to have things that come up, and we've had financial issues come up since we've been doing this. Recently my husband had a medical procedure and was out of work for 2 weeks. We count on things like unemployment in his field. And so timing says everything. It was the end of the year, so no check. So we had the ability to juggle some things because we had a budget. We knew what we could handle doing, at the same time we had an unexpected truck repair. So life happens, but I think that it didn't stress me out. So it's affected me. I get to talk to, look, some of my friends think I'm crazy. They're like, nobody lives debt free. That's what you have credit cards. You have to have a credit card to have a house, and you have to have this. And, then I have an adult child who I like to talk to about it. And if I can pass 1 or 2 things to him or to my girlfriend or, to whatever, to lessen anybody's stress. That's what really matters, because it all goes together,
Yep. Well,
really
I will
does.
tell you what I have found has been the most helpful in passing on that hope to others is just living it, and I think just by you living it, choosing to do it differently, standing up and saying, I'm not going to just do what everybody else is doing, which is living paycheck to paycheck. We're going to do it different. And just by doing that, you begin to be an example to other people. And sometimes you don't even necessarily have to verbally share it. It's just by you taking action. And,
they know. Trust me. When I say, no, let me cook dinner at home instead of let's go out to eat, they know.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So my last question before we let you go here today, and I appreciated so much of your time in sharing this. And but let's just say, Cyndi, back in April, before you find the podcast, we've got someone who's listening, just getting started, maybe listening to this podcast, just getting started with maybe saying, what, I need to do my finances differently. What advice would you give to them? What one or two pieces would you share with them, knowing what you've done and what you've been able to achieve over the last 6 or 7 months now? What would be some things that you think would be helpful for them as they're getting started?
It's scary. It's scary to do money, but it is so worth it. If I know for me, I felt like I wasn't going to fit in, but I think that's because we are always trying to, keep up with the Joneses and that kind of thing. And nobody wants to feel like they are less than. So yeah, I was skeptical. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. Everybody's so young and energetic, and it's just not me. Just do it. Here's the thing. If it doesn't work, you can always go back to being broke again. I mean, it's really easy.
Love that one.
I mean, is the adage, if you don't like it, you can leave and go be broke again. But I'm so glad I gave myself a break. I'm just so glad I gave myself a chance to check it out and do it. And here's the thing. When I first found Life Without Payments, you were talking about roots, and I thought, well, I wonder if this is something I should do. But you know what? There's a fee, and there is a fee. And I debated because I thought, well, do I really want to spend it? So what I did, because it was funny, the timing, I came in the end of May and I joined Roots in July. Well, in between that month, there was time to not go to the coffee shop for a month, and not even a whole month. And I literally went and bought mix for home and did not go. And that's the money I used. There is no way I could have been motivated for this many months in a row without doing it. And I don't even look at it now as I invest in other things for myself. You know what? This is what I did for myself, and it's so worth it. Just give it a chance. Yeah. Give it a shot. Hang out with us for a while. You'll like us.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the fact that you said you wanted to give yourself a break, and what you ended up really giving yourself was this huge gift. And
absolutely.
And I'm so excited to cheer you on here in 2022. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic year. And I'm excited to see you finish this off, and we're going to bring you back on when you reach debt freedom. And we're going to share the story all over again. We're going to show people that it's possible. But Cyndi, you're getting there. You're crushing it, by the way. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and taking some time to share this with us. It's one thing, again, if you're listening to this podcast, you might be thinking it's one thing for Brad and Ryan and Amber to kind of regularly come on here and share these stories. But, it's amazing when we've got someone who comes on and steps out of their comfort zone and talks about this tough subject of money and the challenges that they've had with it, and now the great success that they're having with it because they're standing up and saying, I want something different. And Cyndi, you're that person here today. So again, saving and paying off over $14,000. That's your round of applause, Cyndi. We are so proud of you, me especially. And again, to watch this all the way since July when you started. It's the best part of my job. I absolutely love it. And today was a gift to me, so I greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You know what? Thanks. Root's been a gift to me, so I sure appreciate everything. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Hey, if you love planners, this is for you. But you know why planners frustrate me? Because they only really get it half right. Now, sure, They're really good and fancy about helping you manage your time, which is really important, obviously. That's what a planner's for. But where they get it wrong is money, the second most valuable resource in our lives. Most planners don't include any financial planning, things like, keeping track of paydays, bills, due dates, spending, yearly expenses, budgets, cash flow planning, debt elimination plans, and goal planning, right? None of that stuff. That's a real pain. And then what? Then you got to create your own in some silly binder, right? And who has time for all of that stuff? So instead, what happens? Nothing, right? A lot of people tend to ignore their finances even more, and things only get worse. Well, that all ends today because I am so excited to announce and release my brand new, totally awesome Debt Freedom Planner. This thing's awesome, by the way. Now, before you say, Brad, I've already got a planner. This is not an ordinary day planner. This is the Debt Freedom Planner, which is a companion tool that works with your day planner, and it's built to help you manage your money, pay off more debt, and melt away financial stress. And I believe this is the tool that a lot of people who want to take control of their finances have been waiting for. So head on over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu to get access to your planner today.
I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
All right. That song means it's time for the celebrations of the show. And today, we want to celebrate some fun purchases. Today, we are celebrating some Roots members who have used their budget, saved up, maybe even used sinking funds, and paid cash, because ultimately, that is the goal, is to get you to the point where you're not hoarding all of your cash, but you're enjoying your purchases. You're having fun, enjoying the money that you work hard for. And these are some fantastic wins that we're going to share with you guys here today. We got quite a few I want to get through. Sandy Jarrett says, my vacation. I went on an 8-day cruise. I saved up for it and paid cash for everything. That is absolutely incredible, Sandy. I mean, a paid-for vacation. That exists? Heck yeah, it exists. By having a budget, having a plan, saving up, and being patient. Congratulations to you, Sandy. I bet that vacation was amazing. Mary Southard says, I got myself some new shoes. I love that, right? Even sometimes the simplest purchases paid for with cash can feel great, especially on your journey out of debt. Lisa Stetskol, all-inclusive vacation to Mexico. I am taking this vacation coming up in late January. How about that? So as we are listening to this, Lisa's actually probably getting ready to go on this paid-for, all-inclusive vacation to Mexico, paid in cash. Lisa, amazing, amazing win. Congratulations to you. Jasmine Ziggity Zachary, she's getting ready to go on a 3-day Carnival cruise this weekend. Paid for, in cash. Amazing win, man. Cash vacations. I'm loving all of these, by the way. I love stuff and things, but you guys know if you listen to this show, I am big on experiences and vacation, paid for vacations. Amazing. So congratulations to those individuals, man, who are really going out and having those experiences paid for in cash and then having nothing to worry about when they get back. Such great wins. Corinne Lamb, I paid for a $100 ring that was 50% off. I paid cash using my Christmas Club money that was left over after Christmas. That is amazing, Corinne. Giving yourself a little bit of a bonus for sticking to your budget and actually coming in below your budget. I love that win, Corinne. Congratulations to you. Amy Bosch Whitney, season passes to Six Flags for the family's Christmas presents this year. It was only $55 for each for all of 2022. We know how important it is to create memories with our kids. And I love this one. Before our family camped, we were big season pass holders for Six Flags. Love roller coasters. Love that. I love what you're doing for your family, Amy. Also, of course, I love that you're paying cash. What an amazing win. Jennifer Foster, she says, I bought this cool leather pocketbook I wanted. Now, I went back the second day to purchase it after thinking about it overnight. So waiting the 24 hours, I love that. Wanted to really make sure she wanted this, and she did. She says, I did not put it on a store charge, which has been paid off for a long while, by the way, and she wasn't tempted to pay for it with charge to earn those points. So great win, Jennifer. Congratulations to you. And to wrap up our celebrations, Jillian Harris, a new to us leather couch We actually have 2 couches that are in horrible shape. We didn't even want to take them with us when we moved over this past summer, but we also didn't want to pay hundreds of dollars for a new couch at that time. So my husband has been keeping an eye on a few local auction sites, and we were able to pick up a very nice brown leather couch for just under $100. Jillian, huge win for you and your husband. Way to be patient, way to stick to the plan, and way to save yourself some cash and still get a great item. I love that. Huge, great win. So congratulations to all of you. Again, getting out of debt, cutting expenses that aren't important to you, those are all great things, but also taking some time to reward yourself and pay cash for items. Those can be some great wins as well, too. So huge congratulations to all of you guys.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your feedback, and it also helps us grow our YouTube show. So please give us a like or leave us some honest feedback on this video. And if you want the latest from the show, obviously be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And for the latest resources, or if you want more information on how to kick debt and financial stress, please be sure to check out the links in this video or head over to therealdebtfreedad.com. We'll see you guys on an upcoming show. Take care.